Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ankylosing Spondylitis Reduce Your Pain podcast. My name is Denton, and I am super happy to have you here today. Today's episode, today's topic is really, really important. And there are several absolute core messages that I have for the millions of people that have AS and the tens of millions of other people that have other similar diseases related to stress. And it's that you are greater than the illness. You are greater than the illness. It is not a tattoo you get on your forehead that you can't remove, that you have to take with you everywhere in life. It's something that can be temporary. I was thinking about this earlier and I was kind of laughing and I was like, oh, AS for me it was kind of like college. I had it for a period of time. I learned the lessons. I had teachers. I did my homework. I did what was necessary to graduate. And when that is the outlook that I had, I was able to take the right path in order to get where I am now. And it was to look for the lessons. It was to look for the wisdom with what was happening in my life and in my body and the situation. And I couldn't do it by myself. It took me teachers. It took me really connecting with Peter was the icing on the cake for that process in my life. And so just know, like, you are greater than the illness. It can be temporary, especially when we're talking about ankylosing spondylitis. So Peter Winslow and I discussed today that topic. And we use the word healing a lot. And we shift a little bit in this podcast into life purpose and the importance of having some purpose that we are excited about or something that we want to do other than just trying to fight pain all the time. And I mentioned to Peter that every time he uses the word healing, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, because to even use the word healing, it infers that we are already greater than the illness. Because in order to be able to heal means that we have to be stronger, we have to be more powerful than the illness that we are healing from. So it'll be really fun to have you hear what we're saying there and the importance of purpose. A lot of people, their main primary focus every day is to fight pain, is to manage pain, instead of look beyond it. What might the pain be here to teach us? How do we actually rebalance the body so we do not have to be in pain all the time? And that is exactly what I want for all of you. I love this term AS freedom, and I use it quite often. And it's this period in our lives where we make a transition from where disease and pain and illness and ankylosing spondylitis tend to control us and control what we do every day. And we make this transition out of that way of thinking and way of living into embracing the freedoms that we are now bringing into our life, to embracing what is really meaningful to us. And some of the recent conversations I've had with people on the phone is they're eating new foods. They're eating more gluten than they have in years. They are able to sleep better. They are experiencing AS freedom, where they are now regaining control over their life. And the liberation and the feeling of empowerment and fun and inspiration that comes from that is where I want all of you to get. And I want to congratulate all of you who are making successes in your life. And as you know, Peter and I, here's my disclaimer, we're not doctors. We're not treating you. We're not treating your illness. We're not saying we have a cure for you. We're teaching you how to heal the brain. We're teaching you how to think differently. And one of the fastest ways to begin healing is to begin thinking about the situation differently. So consider those points as you listen to today's episode, and I will wrap up and give a quick summary when it's finished. And for now, I will introduce Peter Winslow. Hey, Peter. Good to see you, man.
Hello, Sky. Hey, greetings from the desert Southwest. How you doing up there in the Great White North?
I'm good. I live in a desert also, but there's snow on the ground and it's -4 degrees outside. And you're in a desert, and I'm sure it's sunny, blue sky, and a lot warmer.
It is a lot warmer, but we're actually cold out here today for us. It's about 40 for a low and 65 for a high, so that's a little colder than we're used to. So it leads me to ask you, do you still have all your toes?
I do, just barely. I got them.
Okay. You got to keep counting those on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, it's cold, man. It is cold. Well, thank you for being here today.
Love it. Great to be here.
So today's topic is really, really important. As both you and I know, and the countless people that we've talked to that have AS and the millions worldwide, AS can be so victimizing, can be so painful, and so confusing. And when we go through this process of speaking with doctors and finally figuring out what's going wrong and getting slapped with the label of a person with ankylosing spondylitis, which is this seemingly incurable, painful, confusing, lifelong degenerative disease, it's very easy for us to think that that disease and that label is more powerful than us, that it's something that's going to be with us and plague us for the rest of our lives. And you and I both know quite differently.
Certainly. Well, if you only go to medical practitioners and you think of it as a purely medical condition, then you're going to feel disempowered over that fact. But the fact is that this affects the mind and the body as well, and the emotions are critical to understanding the advent and onset of this condition. Your emotional imbalances that cause problems in the immune system. So as long as they're just looking at the genetics and just looking at the body and the physical symptoms and so forth, yeah, there's no cure, and it's disempowering, and it's a lifelong confrontation for people in their lives. So then what could be worse than that? Being told that this is a death sentence, that you're going to have this until you die, and it's probably going to play a hand and a role in that process as well. So yeah, no wonder people feel the way they feel. And that's what we can do to help them overcome all that kind of feeling and, disempowerment through our processes of mind-body awareness.
Absolutely. And I think that that is one of the core and absolute fundamental messages you and I both have. And what was the impetus and the motive behind this podcast was to let people know that they don't have to be victimized for the rest of their life. And I was kind of chuckling on this subject before the call, and I was like, oh yeah, AS can just be a phase of our lives, like college was for mine. And then I learned from it, got the lessons, took what I needed to, and moved forward. And it's not plaguing me like it used to.
Yeah, same thing happened for me. It was a phase of life for about 10 years, and then I overcome it and left it behind, but it led to the greatest breakthroughs in my life. And that's how I realized to begin with that our biggest challenges offer the greatest opportunities for us to grow in our lives and to discover what our purpose is and what we're here to do on this planet. If you didn't have the heavy challenges, you'd probably never even think about such matters. It would just be, you know, a plebiscite experience of living your life just to earn money and keep a roof over your head and try and keep yourself comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come up with a diagnosis of a chronic condition, it's pointing to something much deeper in the human condition that needs to be straightened out. And that's what leads us on the journey of our lives, which we could call a life path or a life purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said something that is really necessary for people to recognize if they desire to follow what we did. And it's to look at AS as certainly it's this challenging, kind of scary thing, but to look further than that at the opportunity of learning from it and learning the wisdom that it might have to give to them. That's exactly what you taught to me. And once they do that, the body can rebalance and move forward.
That's exactly what I did. That's what you've done. And that's what the people we coach have done as well. So it isn't a fallacy. But what we're doing is we're addressing the cause of the condition from the emotional and mental standpoint of what creates that issues in our bodies and our minds. So it also transpersonalizes our experience as well, where we go beyond the personal and into the transpersonal or the spiritual awareness. which of course isn't a function of modern medicine. We got to do that for ourselves. So for me and for you, it seems obvious, but I'll speak for myself. It was clearly a path to a higher consciousness. It was a path to healing. And the purpose of disease is healing. So says Dr. Ron Peters, my contemporary here in Scottsdale, whom you met one time at one of his lectures. In his book, his great book, Edgework, he talks about the fact that the purpose of disease is healing. So yes, even your disease has a purpose in your life, and it leads you to heal those things that are deeper and more unknown in the core of your being that are causing the imbalances in your body and your current state of affairs. So that's what I did with it. And when I did, I learned the lessons from it, and then it summarily fell away. The symptoms just took care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So there's a little more to it than that, but that was the basic onset. That was my basic premise when I began my healing process after 10 years of struggling and suffering and taking pills and drinking too much and trying to kill the pain and avoid it at all costs and do whatever I could do to get away from it. After that process of 10 years of no hope and no relief and no cure in sight, I made the transition out of that victimhood and into victor status through mind-body awareness. Mm-hmm. I showed you how to do the same thing.
Exactly. And there is this really important transition from such a focus on pain management and feeling like this diagnosis is just like this constant thunderhead above our heads that's just raining on us and like there's nothing we can do about it, to moving on with our lives, finding a deeper purpose, finding and making peace within ourselves in order to start feeling better emotionally and letting go of the victimization that leads people down a rabbit hole of depression and confusion and sadness and worsening symptoms.
Well, you just mentioned that deeper purpose right there. The peace, love, and joy that we are here to experience as humankind is robbed from us through these chronic conditions. And as long as we look at them as purely physical and genetic or purely, bodily issues, then there is no cure. And that's where people falter and then find themselves victimized with no hope going forward. So again, this is what we're doing, is showing people that it doesn't have to be this way. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
You have to balance what's important in your life, and that's what the opportunity is before you now as you create these conditions of pain and fear and suffering in your lives. It leads you to a better day and a better way if you just take action and act accordingly. So you've got to learn what to do and follow the process. It's a process, but it doesn't have to take long at all. Yeah. In fact, I had a client the other day, about a week or two ago, who came in because she was deathly afraid of her diagnosis of AS and she had the pain and the symptoms. And I counseled her for about 30 minutes and she called me back 2 days later and said, it's gone. Mm-hmm. The pain is gone. And all I did was relieve her fears and balance her emotions.
Yeah.
Show her how to do that.
Yeah. And there is certainly a technique to that. And that's such good evidence of the mind-body connection at work. I mean, that is just, the proof is in the pudding with that story right there.
Well, of course, the biggest proof of the mind-body connection and that it exists is called stress. Stress is an emotional condition that creates issues in the body. That's mind and body. What you're thinking about leads to the feelings that you're feeling, and then your body responds accordingly. We call that emotions. Mm-hmm. And when it leads to stress and stress-related illness, that's proof of the mind-body connection right there. Mm-hmm. But the fact that people are looking for results and looking for answers, and then they release their fears and their attachment to the pain and suffering that they had created for themselves in their life experiences, and they let all that stuff go, the disease has served its purpose and it falls away on its own.
Yeah. Yeah. And her life, that woman that you talked to, her life is going to be completely different now.
Completely. Everything, her relationships, her career, her family life, her friends, her health, obviously, everything has changed for the better because she's let go of fear and pain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that blew my mind. It's like, wow, 22 days, she's good to go.
Totally. I love hearing those stories. I got a text message the other day from a woman I've also been working with, and after our last 2 sessions, she didn't have pain the next day, and
Right.
she's had a severe case for sure, and the benefits of feeling supported by someone, especially a coach, and then their own breakthroughs in their heads around what their life could look like instead of what they thought it was going to look like before is just so liberating for people. It's such a beautiful thing.
It's a fine way to live a life for us, isn't it?
It is a fine way to live a life, absolutely. And so this woman that you talked with recently, I think about kind of a metaphor that came into my mind when you were describing her process and how pain moved out of her body so quickly, that AS can almost be like an emotion. It's something that comes in, we experience it, and it can pass through us.
Well, it does. Emotions are transitory. That's why, for instance, love is not an emotion, because love is eternal and emotions are temporary. So AS can be
Mm.
considered a temporary condition that passes through us with its emotional substrates and the other conditions that it creates in our lives. And then it can move along if we don't attach to it. But fighting with it is an attachment to it. Trying to get rid of it is attaching yourself to it in a negative way. And the medical professionals will say, yeah, let's fight it, but we can't cure it. There's no cure here in the fighting. If there was, I'd be all for the fight. I'd be leading the charge. I'd be the general on the battlefield, leading the assault against AS.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It can work for temporary pain relief, sure. And there's other methods that can offer that as well. However, a cure is what we've got to do for ourselves. And since the purpose of disease is healing, our life purpose, if we have these chronic conditions, is related to that purpose as well. So
Yeah.
that should lead us into our habits that heal. What do we got today? Number 19.
Yeah, this is perfect because we are on episode 19 of the podcast, and it just so happens that this is Winslow's Habits That Heal, lesson number 19.
Synchronicities. They happen all the time in my life.
All right, here we go. So, Winslow's Habits That Heal, lesson number 19. Live with purpose. Purpose gives your life meaning. Finding and fulfilling your life purpose is essential for love, joy, and peace of mind. It is as unique as you are, and it steadily evolves as you travel through life. This is very fortunate because the healing power of a life purpose goes far beyond measure. Purpose is also the straightest path to success and power. It's the ultimate source of inner strength. Best of all, you don't need anyone's permission to fulfill your purpose. If you are unsure what your purpose is, then discover what really drives you, not just what pulls you out of bed every morning, but what makes you excited to be alive. Find what really moves you, not the fear, pain, and suffering, but what truly makes your heart sing. The most crippling challenges you ever faced led you straight to where you are today. What if it's all part of a larger purpose? What if everything adds up to the big lesson you need for success, happiness, and fulfillment? What if your current health condition is simply a guide to remind you of what is really important in your life? And what if handling it well could lead you straight to inner peace, love, and joy? What if your worst challenges provide you with the best opportunity to find your true purpose? Now you are thinking like a victor.
Indeed. And when I wrote that and realized that in my own life, it changed everything. The life purpose has the power to do that. And here's the thing. Everybody comes into this world with a purpose to fulfill. Some people know it, but most people don't. And many people go to their graves without ever knowing what their purpose was. And on their deathbed, they wonder why they did what they did and didn't do what they didn't do. So for people like that, it all remains an unsolved mystery, which we call the unexamined life. But your condition will not allow you to go through life unexaminedly, as we say, because you've got to pay attention. And actually, your life purpose is reflected in everything you experience in life anyway, because everything you experience serves a purpose to your life in some way or another. So this all comes together to become a pretty deep spiritual realization that isn't obvious to most people. Most people don't ever get this far. In fact, the very notion of a life purpose isn't obvious to most people. Most people are just trying to avoid their challenges. And the path to purpose can often lead us directly through the heart of what we fear most. So they don't want to go there. And desperately trying to avoid this fear just makes their matters worse in life. And that's why there's so much suffering in our world. But what we need to understand is this: we only grow against resistance. We don't grow from a position of comfort. So now AS knocks us out of our comfort zone and it causes personal growth. And therefore, that's an example of how our so-called problems are actually our best opportunities for greatness.
I know that AS certainly set me on a very specific life purpose. And you've seen this too, man. With the people that have AS, they learn to get better. They learn the lessons. They start feeling inspired. Everyone is like, holy crap, I want to give back. I want to help. And that's exactly what AS taught me. It was like, my life purpose is to help people out of pain.
Everybody I coach wants to then become a coach.
everyone.
Because it's fantastic and fulfilling, and it's making a difference in the world in a way that really shows. And everybody feels it.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course they want to help this and share this information with others and help the world heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have you noticed that that's everybody's situation when they come through your coaching? They want to train to be a coach themselves.
Totally. Yeah. A lot of them also, they were already headed into some field of health and wellness or something, whether it was personal training, physical therapy, acupuncture, kinesiology, and all of a sudden they have this mind body breakthrough, and they actualize it in their own bodies, and so they have this really cool understanding of body and mind and the interconnectedness of both, and this experience in their lives of letting go of chronic pain, which is so unique and unparalleled in many ways.
Yeah, so these are people who want to help the human condition. They want to help people. They know
Yeah.
it so far, they know it already. And because they've gone through their own issues in life on that subject, they feel more able and willing to be able to help others because they've been through it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is different than the medical paradigm at large. Most doctors go into healing because they want to help people heal. But they go into not healing, but they go into medical practices to help people recover and heal, or to treat their illnesses anyway. But then it becomes a corporate structure. And so, hospitals and other places of caregiving have to make a profit in order to do what they do. Of course, we all have to do that. But people are looking nowadays more than ever, the people who are going to med school are looking for alternative methods and mind-body awareness to be able to help their people in ways that they were not able to do before. And they instinctively can feel somewhere in their experience that this is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So you're one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun to think about the different generations of this work. So to me, you are the senior. Like, you have been the visionary behind AS mind body coaching, like first ever that I know of. And then there was the generation of my age of people that found success, created success. And now there's the generation that I'm working with. A lot of them, huge age range, but a number of people currently are in their younger to mid 20s. And what they will do with this knowledge, I mean, who knows? The ripple effect is just so big.
And that's a spiritual premise. Buddhism, particularly the middle way of Buddhism called Mahayana, talks about that very thing, how interconnected we all are. In the microcosm, I'm healing so the people around me also heal. And who we surround ourselves with is important because we take on their characteristics and we share their values oftentimes. So when I'm healed, the people around me see the path to healing. And I've been out of AS pain now for over 30 years. I first started getting the pain and symptoms when I was 20 years old. I was diagnosed with AS at the age of 24, and then at 30, I released it and let it go. And today I'm 61, so it's been over 30 years since I've done this process. And in my generation, there was no biologic treatment. There was no protocols for people with AS and chronic pain. We were just told it's all in our heads. And they gave me a prescription for Motrin and sent me home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to live with pain every single day of my life for 10 years, man. And that led straight to a life purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people don't realize that, but fighting with your body constantly will never make it healthy and happy. And that's one reason that these so-called chronic conditions, chronic illnesses, are dominant in our modern culture, because we're simply fighting with the body. And a lot of people just insist that these illnesses are strictly physical, as they keep fighting with the bodily symptoms throughout their entire lives. But I've noticed, and maybe you have you noticed how this misguided and misunderstood practice of fighting the physical symptoms affects people's joy and happiness and twists their mind? In fact, some diseases are so severe that they require us to put the rest of our lives on hold and focus solely on the disease. Like if you get a brain cancer diagnosis, you got to quit your job and start doing things differently. So this fact points to the primary function and purpose of disease. And that's right, I'll say it again, your disease has a purpose. And the purpose of chronic illness and chronic disease is to make you pay attention to what's really important in your life. Now, if you didn't have the terrible symptoms and the chronic pain, you'd probably just ignore the whole situation, and you'd almost certainly deny what's causing it, the mental and emotional unrest. But disease is your body's way of getting your attention to learn about yourself and make the changes in your mind style and your lifestyle. And that's what people don't realize. They're trying to fight and run away from the pain. Mm-hmm. But here's a powerful secret for those guys. We can convert the physical, mental, and emotional pain into a higher healing power. But we don't do it by fighting with the body. Because once we do that, we convert this energy and this pain into a higher healing power. We can then utilize the mind-body approach for healing our lives.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yeah. I really like to. So we started off with the theme of we are greater than the illness. And I think about just the amount of times you've used the word healing on this show so far, and like what you just read. And the word healing in itself infers that we have the ability to heal, which means and translates to the fact that we are greater than the illness. It's not something that we're tattooed with, that we can never erase, that we can never move beyond.
This is what these conditions give us the opportunity to learn and find out. And once people make that shift and turn that corner where they are the ones who are more important and more powerful and more empowered than the condition is over their lives, that's when they make these changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've seen this pattern, I think you've seen it too, of people that they're looking for help, they're looking for answers. That's how they find us. And then they start feeling better. And then they have all this capacity and time that's freed up in their life. Like, wow, if I spent a third or half of every day focused on trying to get rid of pain, all of a sudden they have like all this extra time and space, and they kind of wonder what to do with it for a period. And then they engage it into their life in some meaningful way. And then they just continue a positive process, and the disease continues to fall away.
Yeah, in one of my groups, I had a guy whose pain went away after about 6 weeks of training. You know, one day a week for 6 weeks, after about 6 hours of training. His pain went away, and the next time he came in week number 7, he's like, I don't know what to do with myself now. What do I do? I'm bored. I don't have to fight with the pain anymore, because he freed up all that time and energy and space to be able to do what he loves to do. So I asked him what he loves to do, what really lights him up, where's his passion, what really gets him moving. And he said, I love music. So yeah. I asked him what he plays, and he plays guitar. And I said, play your guitar more, get your passion flowing. He's like, oh yeah, I never thought of that.
Totally. Yeah, it's so interesting. And I did the same thing. I remember I was so dedicated to healing, or so dedicated to like just letting go of pain. And there was a period where I was like, well, now what do I do? And this conversation is it's just so up in my dialogue with people right now. And I was on the phone with someone yesterday, and her constant question has been like, now what? Like, what's next? What do I do? Like, what do I do with myself? Because I don't have to fight pain anymore.
Live your
And
purpose.
keep growing. Find things that are more meaningful. Find things that are more important than fighting pain.
Well, so we have a choice. There's really only two attitudes that anybody ever embodies. And of course, psychologists could push back on that and say, well, I can name 23 or 123 or 1,023 attitudes, but there's really only two. And that's acceptance and resistance. Those are the only two attitudes people have. Any attitude you have is either resisting what's going on or accepting what's going on. And people have been resisting the AS. So now that they're not resisting anymore, it's like, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
So you move into acceptance, and acceptance is the open doorway to greatness. When you accept what is, and you can move beyond attachment to suffering, you become a great example to the other people in the world and in your life who see you as a shining beacon of hope in a world where there isn't much of that to go around. So then help others. That's what we were talking about earlier. Doctors and medical practitioners are the people we treat who are therapists and physical therapists and other occupational therapists and whatever it is as well. They're helping humanity. That's the calling. And if you're religious, that's the calling of Jesus, the Christ. Help the least among you. That's the purpose of the Christian mission. So this is all tied together in philosophies and religions and science to realize why we're here and what we're doing. And it's to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what an amazing gift that we've been given to be able to contribute to the improvement of people's lives that have AS and help the world in that way.
There's nothing I'd rather do, man. This lights me up.
Yeah.
I love
Me
taking
too.
a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah. It's so interesting, and everyone is unique and also similar. And there's no place I would rather be.
So wherever you go, there you are. And this is who we are, when we are, what feels best. And that's one of the things we teach. How to be who you are, when you are, what feels best. That's what everybody wants. Now let's just do it.
Yeah.
So they think, well, I'll do it when my pain goes away and my kids do what I've asked them to do and my neighbor gets off my back and my boss stops being such a jerk. Then I'll feel pain, or I'll feel peace instead of the pain. It doesn't work that way. You've got to choose peace first and then accept the conditions as they are and move beyond them in a way that enlightens you and grows your perspectives in this world, grows your mission, your purpose, and your experiences in life of love, joy, and peace of mind, the things that are most important to you in life. That's what AS gives us an opportunity to do.
Mm-hmm.
It slaps us down and wakes us the heck up and says, pay attention to what's important in your life. Or else I'm just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And people are just trying to run away from it, trying to fight the pain, trying to get rid of it. And there is no cure there.
Yeah. It does. It redirects us quickly into focusing on what's important in life.
One way to know that your purpose is clear to you is that you'd rather be where you are than anywhere else in the world. Where there's no place you'd rather be, then you're living your purpose.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that definition of it before. And I can definitely notice that at times in my life when I was really happy being where I am. And now is one of them that it is because I feel very on purpose. I feel like I have a gift to the world and I'm actualizing it. It took me a long time to build the confidence and continue learning to get to the point where now I'm lit up talking about health and healing.
That's exactly the point I'm making, and that you're living. You are living your purpose. And all things come to those who live their purposes. Again, most people don't even know that there is such a thing as a life purpose, or they're out there seeking it in the world around them. Like they think it's security, control, and approval. So they got to get a good job, a good education, a good income, and a nice house and a family so that other people will approve of them and think that they're worthwhile. That's what most people are focused on, what they think is their purpose. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, we want to do good works in our communities and live a nice life and a comfortable existence. However, that's not your purpose. Do those things because we can.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose is something different. Purpose is what you find within you.
Yeah.
Not in the world out there.
Yeah. With the last couple of minutes here, Peter, what is your life purpose?
To raise consciousness in the human condition. So that begins with me. My purpose is about me raising my consciousness and my awareness of what is and how the universe operates and my role in it and who I am beyond all that. And then to spread that to others. So I study the masters, and the jobs of the masters is to live an inspiring life and turn out other masters. So I've taken it upon myself to follow that credo and do the same thing in my world.
Mm-hmm.
I live an inspiring life, and I turn out other people who live inspiring lives.
Yeah, I would agree. You certainly do live an inspiring life, and you are turning out people that are visionaries, that have done what others have considered impossible, and they've done it quickly. They've done it confidently. They understand that it's not magic, that it's actually a formula of human potential and a way of thinking. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's more than that too. It's a way of being. And that's something that people must understand to master their lives. What are you being?
Yeah.
That leads to what you're thinking and speaking and doing and receiving as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. So last question for you, Peter. We have this theme of we are greater than the illness. What have you seen in your personal experience with AS and healing, and then in working with me, and then in working with the hundreds of other people directly and sort of the thousands indirectly? What have you seen regarding that theme of that we are greater than the illness?
Well, the first thing I'd say about that is that the illness is temporary and the self is eternal and ongoing, everlasting. But most people are disconnected from that aspect of themselves, so they're not aware of it. So once we help them become aware of that through whatever practices are useful in that moment and in that structure of teaching and learning, then we recognize that we truly are greater than the things that beset us. And those things that beset us, the illness or the diseases or the conditions in our lives that are challenging and painful and difficult, when we accept those things and learn from them, we grow stronger. There's no examples of people out there who are truly successfully oriented in their lives with their love, their joy, and their peace of mind, who haven't faced hardships. It's the hardships and the challenges that make us strong. It's like honing a knife on a whetstone. And that's analogous to our conditions in life and what we face and how we go through the world. What we're being leads to what we're receiving in life. And so when you're being who you are, when you are what feels best, and you're in touch with your love, joy, and peace of mind, which is found internally, no temporary experience can ever keep you down. And you are truly greater than this illness.
Mm-hmm.
And the illness becomes a valuable ally. So I used to think when I had the condition of, the symptoms of AS, the pain, the spasms, the sciatica, and the flare-ups and all the rest of that pain, I used to think this is the worst thing that could happen. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. And I went on like that for 10 years. And then I moved through that and let it go and healed from all that condition by using my mind and my body in tandem with my emotions and my spiritual awareness. And the symptoms fell away, and I realized that was the best thing that ever happened to me, not the worst. And today I can say it with conviction. AS is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a trusted ally. It's no longer needed, but the condition it left me with of health and wellness is I'm so eternally grateful to have gone through this experience. And that is the salvation that leads to love, joy, and peace of mind. Gratitude.
Beautiful. Well, we will let our listeners meditate on those wise words you just said. And thank you, Peter. These conversations are always so fun. The outreach is growing, and it's really fun to see how many downloads this show is getting, and people are just eating it up. And so we'll keep them coming. And thanks again, man. Super fun.
Well, keep bringing the fun, Sky.
Cool. Sounds great, Peter.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, welcome back. So this show is juicy. It's filled with content. We talk about life purpose, and we talk about being greater than the illness. And I have a quick metaphor I would like to give to you all. And a lot of people are starting to listen to this show that actually do not have ankylosing spondylitis. And so this applies for different issues with the body. And especially for those of you with AS, I want you to listen closely to this. And AS can be almost like an emotion. It's something that we feel. It's something that is very real in our body. It is something that is not only triggered by our brain, but reinforced by the sensations in the body. And it creates a lot of thought loops and patterns. And just like an emotion passes through the body, so can AS. The body can rebalance. And the emotion, the symptoms, the disease, the pain, the inflammation can transition itself into the body and leave the body. Think about it. Where was it before? Who knows? Where does it go after? Who knows? Who cares? All we know is that it can move through the body just like an emotion. Illness can be temporary because you are greater than illness. So with that, my friends, I absolutely thank you for being here. I encourage you to share this with people that you know, people that you love, and people that you care about, people that you know are looking for answers. And if you want to see these podcasts in video form, you can go to YouTube or Facebook and type in Ankylosing Spondylitis, Reduce Your Pain. If you would like to contact Peter Winslow, asvictors.com is your place to do that. And if you'd like to talk to me, skydenton.com is your place to connect with me. And I welcome input. I welcome emails about breakthroughs or emails about struggles or whatever you all feel like sharing, because it will help the greater AS community worldwide. We are all here together. We are sharing the best knowledge we can in the best way we know how. Wishing you all the best and looking forward to connecting with you again very soon.